My name is Haley Richard, and today I'll be going over my midterm presentation for Black Psychology. Introduction. My name is Haley Richard, and I am currently a psychology student attending North Carolina Central University, pursuing my bachelor's degree in psychology. This presentation is intended for the Black Psychology class and its students. Research topics. African American psychology is studied in different ways. It is also studied differently than the psychology of whites, Belgrave and Allison, 2019. Some of these research topics include the African Self-Consciousness Scale, Asante Afrocentricity Scale, the Communalism Scale, the Afrocentrism based on the principles of Nguzo and Saba, Afrocentric Value Scale for Children, and Afrocentric Home Environment Inventory, Belgrave and Allison, 2019. For the intent of this presentation, I will be defining the different research approaches and how they could be applied in Black children's studies and lives. African Self-Consciousness Scale. The African Self-Consciousness Scale is the most popular research scale used to study African Americans, Belgrave and Allison, 2019. This scale is measured in numbers representing how high or low an African American rates their self-consciousness level. This scale is measured through 1 and 8, 1 being the lowest and 8 being the highest. Asante Afrocentricity Scale. This scale consists of 3 aspects to study. The first being culture-centeredness, second being spirituality and ancestral connection, and the third is Afrocentric epistemology. While having the 3 aspects of study, African psychology, the scale itself is measured on agree or disagree level in numbers. This scale was designed to represent communalism of African psychology. This being said, it is a measure of how an individual in the African American race views their relationship with their surroundings, such as family, friends, and even acquaintances. This scale is measuring the relationship between the individual and their surroundings and how they feel between them. Afrocentrism based on the principles of Nguzo Saba. This scale is derived from the known holiday as Kwanzaa. Since Kwanzaa is 7 days, the scale is based on 7 different views that grade African Americans and their values on different life sections. The 7 views are unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. These 7 sections quite literally contain all the aspects that can be studied on one's self-values. Eccentric Value Scale for Children. This scale measures children's level of collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, and self-determination. Belgrave and Allison, 2019. As children think and act differently than adults, they have to be studied on a different scale for it to be accurate when getting results. This scale differs from many used for adults as it grades on the response of yes, no, or maybe instead of the typical agree or disagree for many adult scales. Afrocentric Home Environment Inventory. This last scale that will be mentioned for this presentation is used to analyze the racial socialization of children. There are 10 levels on this scale which are measured by 10 aspects of how much Black culture, history, art, and other things that will help expose Black children to their race. Black children and education. Black children and their education are sometimes dependent on their environment and what they are exposed to in life outside of school or learning. Racism can also play a part in how much information is taken in an educational environment. Keogh et al. 2012 reported that African American students who reported racism or experienced racism led to negative academic outcomes. Research topics. We talked about the different ways research can be conducted using the many different scales and the aspects they cover. Now the important part is to navigate which research topic studied will help programs that will improve education in Black children. I chose to apply the context of this presentation to Black children's education because education is a key factor when it comes to being successful. After all, knowledge is power. Education in Black children's environments. Black children who grew up in dominantly poor housing areas or neighborhoods have shown a decrease in childhood development. If we are able to improve the environments for which Black children are raised and have access to, then their education and outcome of learning would ultimately improve. Other factors will of course have a play in how much children learn, but as a whole, changing the environment for the better will result in better education. Mental illness in education. The presence of mental illness, such as depression, has a great impact on Black children and their ability to be engaged, as well as being able to retain educational information. Education alone is not subject to just school environments, but also religious environments. If Black children develop mental illnesses, it takes away their interest to learn, regardless of the information being taught to them. According to Belgrave and Allison, 2019, a symptom of depression includes cessation of spiritual activities. Not only will this affect the spiritual growth of the child, but their educational growth too. Analytical versus relational learning styles in Black children. Two of the main learning styles associated with education in Black children are the analytical learning and relational learning. Analytical learning is stimulus-centered, field independence, and reflectivity. Relational learning is field self-centered, field dependence, and spontaneity. The way a Black child is raised decides the way that they are able to learn and retain information. This is why their environment is so important. Conclusion. Black children have disadvantages when it comes to education due to their environments and social life in some cases. Many of the aspects, if changed, would improve the learning outcome. Support systems such as after-school programs, housing funds for low-income families, food support, and counseling groups for Black children in schools. By continuing to research the cause and effects of Black children, education, and the learning outcomes, we will continue to help improve their education altogether. Questions. Two of the questions that I came up with for this presentation for the students in the class are, if Black children were to receive counseling in school to improve their education or received extra attention to improve their grades or scores, would it worsen their mental health as they may take it as being singled out in a negative way? The second question I had was if a Black child is experiencing discrimination due to receiving extra resources, such as housing improvement, how do we as a society in the educational system avoid this? I chose these two questions for the class to answer because discrimination and bullying in a racist way is still very much present in our school systems. Children can be very mean to other students even if they see the slightest bit of change or if a student is getting extra help. So I asked these questions to see how we as a society could change the outcome of this. Resources used. I used 3 different references for this presentation. Most of them were from Belgrave and Allison, 2019. This is the book that we are using for class. The other 2 resources that I used was KORC, 2012, and Evans GW, 2006. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I look forward to receiving the answers and feedback from the questions I asked and hope to shed some light on how we can improve Black education and discrimination when these students receive the help that they need to better their education.